Welcome Linux enthusiast. This is the 14th episode of our Linux learning series. If you are coming from our previous episodes, then hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Or if you are watching this video for the first time and coming to our channel as well, then I would suggest to check out the playlist above. In this video, we'll be talking about backup and restore methods in Linux. If you're looking to upskill in Linux and get globally recognized certificates, then you can check out our DevOps course. The link is given below in the description box. Alright, so let's start the video without wasting much time. Alright, so in this chapter we'll be talking about the backup and restoring methods in Linux. So which is usually required when you have to take a backup and you have to zip the files in order to compress the size so that you can easily take the in and out operations. You want to take some data, you can just compress it and decompress it. So there are varieties of tools which are available in Linux, for example tar, gzip and rsync commands to backup and storing. And after that we will also see how do you monitor the systems in Linux, for example using htop, iotop and vmstats, which basically provides the statistics of your systems which are being happening. So this is all also cover up in the portion of system admins, which admin should also have an understanding about all these things. So let's go to the demo and check out things, how do we capture the backup and restoring methods. So let's currently I am logged into this machine and I am logged in with the user star agile. Okay, so when I do ls in my home directory, I see these are the files and directories which are present in my home directory. What if I want to take a backup of a documents folder? I want to create a tar file of it. So how do you create it? So there is a command called tar-cvf to create the backup, and you have to provide the file name, what the backup file should look like. So let's say I would name it document.tar.gzip. If you are using, so currently I'm just creating a tar file, not zipping it up. So I can just say document.tar to document folder. So when I do ls-al, I will see a tar which is already created for this. Now let's see document.tar. It's 12 KB. What if the size of documents? It's 12K. It's 4K. There is some differences in the size as well. But if you really want to see the tars, so this is not a compress, it's just the mechanism to basically, create a backup. So further you can create a tar backup and zip it up. And let's say document.tar.gz of document folder, and then let's check the size of it. So du-sh, so the size is 4 KB. That's a minimal size, it gets created because I don't think there was some other data contents present in the documentation, so that's why. But what if we have multiple lines and stuff? So you will definitely see the compression of size of the files. So that's how the compression is done, and then you can create a zip file for the using tar. And if you want to just read the tar, then you can read it like this, document.tar. So it says okay, it is basically it has a documents folder, and let's say I create a directory called let's say backup, and if I go inside the backup, I want to untar this package here. So see, if I do tvf does not basically untar it, it just tells you that so it has taken a backup of a particular file or directory, but it is not really doing untar or to you. But if you want to untar the file, you can use command xvf. Okay, let's say you want to untar it, and I want to untar it in my present directory, which is a backup. So it says existing with failures due to previous errors, not found in archives. That's okay. What we can let's try to create some other file or directory. Let's say I do test. Okay, let's remove this test and let's create a directory test. Okay, I am creating some files inside test, file1.txt. This is file1. Okay, this is star agile file. Okay, something like that. I'm creating a content, and then let's star this tar hyphen cvzf test. Okay, I want to create a tar inside backup. Okay, of what? Test. Okay, so now let's go to backup. You see the tar has been created. Now I want to see this tar tbf test.tar. It says okay, so this backup is created for these two files and directories, test and file1.txt. Let's decrypt it, or let's decompress it. So xvf is used to do that. So once you do this, it automatically uncompress the tar for you, and then creates the it unfolds the tar values, and then it shows you the contents which is present inside the tar file. Okay, now if you look at the tar, you should be able to see the text, and if you do this, you will be able to see the content. So that's how you can use tar command in order to create the backup, and also you can compress it via cvzf. So if you want to read more about the options of tar, so see tar -c is to create the archive. Okay, and if you look at -v, then it will show you -v is for backup, the verbose mode. So it's showing up here that this is the verbose. Okay, -z for compression, and gzip. So this is how capital Z is for compression and small z is for gzip, and similarly it uses unzip and gunzip. So and -x to unfold. So you can get it from here. It's basically trying to decompress the program. So in order to decompress it, how do you do this? Using -x command option. So that's how you can read a variety of options which are available with the tar, and you can use tar. So what if you want to exclude files or directories while creating a backup? So for that, let's do one thing. Let's first remove the compression that we have taken. Okay, and let's create couple more files inside our test directory. So I'll create file2.txt. Okay, and file3.txt. Okay, now let's try to avoid file2.txt, only take the compression and the backup for file3 and file1.txt. So how do you do that? You can exclude using option --exclude, and then let's say, so exclude and say file1.txt and tar.cvzf test new.tar.gzip of test. Okay, so when I exclude file1.txt, it only took the backup for me only for this test directory, then file3 and file2. However, if you look at the test directory, you will see there are 3 files, but we have excluded via option file1.txt. So now let's copy this tar inside backup, and then we will uncompress it there in the backup. So let's go to backup, and currently we removed that earlier decompressed test file. Now let's again decompress the new backup that we have taken, test_new here, and tar-xvf. So mainly I guess it is creating a problem because we don't have the file here. Let's try to untar it. Test-new gzip. Yeah. So you have to move the file. It should be present in that location. That's why once you do that, after that you should see that there is a test directory which is created. But if you try to locate the files which are present, so file1.txt is skipped because we explicitly excluded that file while creating the backup of it. Okay. Now, how do you basically gzip to individual file compression? So how do you do that using gzip? So there is a command called gzip. So you can just let's say you want to zip file1.txt, you can just zip it. Okay, so let's see. So file1.txt.gzip. So once you do the gzip part, automatically this file has zipped into .gzip format, and then if you want to unzip it, so you can use gunzip and then test and then file1.gzip. So if you do this, it has all automatically unzipped it once we execute the command gunzip to unzip the file. Okay, so that's how you can use gzip and gunzip to unzip the file. Okay, rsync command we have already seen before, where it basically tries to copy it up from the remote machines. You can just copy it up as it is for the files and directories. So that is a difference between gzip, rsync and tar. So mainly for Linux systems compressions and techniques, so people prefer to use tar because it can have a facility to automatically creates a backup, as well as it basically creates the compression as well, so both things, and then you can just unzip the file, and also you can just unzip the backup as well. But gzip and gunzip is just to unzip and things do this. For rsync, I'll just show here the commands that we have preferably tried before, if we did. So like for example, rsync is being used. So let's say you want to rsync this directory called test, okay, to the remote machine. For example, star agile @10.211.25.12. Okay. So if the machine has a connectivity, then you should be able to do this. Okay, maybe some directory test it is doing from, if I try from this server, let's try from here actually. Okay, because I have my public key stored in the server, this is a client machine, so I'll just use rsync and remote machine star agile let's say 10.211.55. Skipping directory tests, okay, because it is already present. So let's go inside test and then do this rsync. Star agile test. Yeah, so this way you can sync the directories from your server. So this is my server 12 machine, and you have to use option AVZ. Without that it was not working, it was skipping it. So this will include the zipped as well, and here it is. So it has successfully, you know, bring all the informations of this directory, whatever it contains. So it was skipping that earlier, but now including this -a option, which includes the subdirectories and files inside the directory. So that's how you can use the rsync. So the main differences between tar, gzip and rsync is just to create a backup. For if you have a requirement to create a backup as well as the zipped backup, so better to go with the tar command. If you only want to gzip the file, zip the file compression, you can use gzip command, and then you can use gunzip to unzip it. And then if you want to sync between remote machines, then you can preferably using rsync, because it will directly sync the directories and files for you. So that's how you can copy it. Now let's talk about some system monitoring tools. I think in terms of htop, we had already discussed in the previous chapters, but I'll just recap it. Htop is a command which basically gives you the real-time view for your processes which are running on your Linux machine, and it can gives you some granularity in terms of the usage of your CPU, memory, processes, priorities and commands and time, and load average and stuff. So that can help any admin to analyze which process is consuming high memory, which process is consuming more CPU usage, and which process has to be terminated and stuff. So those tricks you can do better in htop. In the process management, if you remember, we talked about ps command as well, where you can just check the processes, list down the processes. But for the live process, there is a command called top command. But for high physical graphical interfaces, if you would want to see, then htop is a better command. Here you can basically filter out based on percentage of your memories and stuff. You can sort it. So for example, F6, if you press it, so then you can sort it, let's say percentage of memory. When you press enter, so you see the high percentage of memory process which are being used. So that's how you can do. So all these options are being shown up here in the below, that F1 does what, then setup and search. So let's say if I want to search something, and let's say I want to search htop, and I pressed enter. So it has found me the process called htop. Currently I'm highlighting on that htop process. You can just shift the arrows, keyboard arrows, to shift from top process to bottom and all. So, and if you want to send some sort of a signal, so you can say F9. So go to htop and then say F9. So once you do the F9, it will lock that process. After that, whatever the signals you would want to pursue, you can provide that signal to the kernel. So if you remember, we talked about the signals earlier as well, that signal number 9 is just to kill the process, does not ask for anything. It's more of like a forcefully kill for any of the processes, right? So signal 9 is this. So for each signals, there is a respective work that signal does. Like sig hub is just to make sure the process just to hung it up and then not to work, but does not kill it. Then similarly for abort and quit and stuff. So let's say if you provide any specific signals, let's say I provide signal 9. So ultimately what it will happen is, under the hood, it will execute a command called kill command with the option -9, because that's a signal sig kill which will be triggered for to the kernel, saying that this htop has to be closed immediately. So if I press enter, after that you see I have come to the shell. So directly it has killed that htop process, which was showing me this graphical representations of the processes, process tables and stuff, right? So that has directly gone up. So that is the advantage of using htop. You can filter it out, you can search it, you can create a tree, for example, with F5 function, so you can create a tree, which means you can see list down the processes, sub processes which are running from one process. And so it's kind of an easy access for the admin to analyze which process is consuming more, and if the admin wants to take any further action, then admin can do this. So a system admin should have the understanding about these processes and should have an understanding about how to deal with those things and how to kill the process and stuff. So to quit it, you just have to press Q. So htop will be quitting it. And if we talk about the usage by the process, so there is a command called IO top as well. Okay, seems like IO top is not installed, so we can download the package via apt, and then you can install it. So first let's update our repository. So sudo apt update will update my repository for the Ubuntu machine, which will basically update any packages which are not at the latest level, which are still at the earlier packages level version. So it will update the version automatically for all the versions that the repositories that I am being using. After that, once you do this, and then you can install package called sudo apt install iotop. Okay, so this will download iotop package, and then it will install the package on the machine. So it says that package is unpacking, setting it up is done, no service need to be restarted, no container, nothing. So since Linux is like an OS where you don't have to always restart the services, so it updates things real time on the fly itself. So now if you run sudo iotop, so this command basically describes the iotop for you, basically input output operations, if you would want to capture whatever is happening on your disk. So majorly input output operations happens on the disk and memories part, where you see how much input is happening and how much memories are going out and stuff. So those things you can track down here using IO system IO. And if you would want to launch the iotop only for the active processes, so you can use command sudo iotop -o. So this will list down only the active packages. So currently Parallel is working, Firefox is working, systemd, genome shell, these are the current package, the services which are running. So let's try this. If in case we see this sleep command here, if it comes up here in the process, so usually it depends like the number of input output the operations is doing, then only it will come up here, otherwise it will not come. So if we do something, let's say Firefox is keep on coming because there is a input output operations are happening, you are basically trying to search things and stuff, so that's the reason it is showing you more details and here. So there are some keys you can use, like for example you can refresh it, you can check the processes and other things. So this command can help you do as well. Let me just kill this. Okay, right now what if you want to specifically monitor processes input output operations for the user? So you can run command sudo iotop -u and the username, so let's say star agile. So this will only give me for the user star agile. Okay, so currently I'm at star agile, so star agile user is only using the bash is nothing but a a bourne shell, it's a shell, the interface where we are interacting with the machine. So currently we have logged in with this, that's why you are seeing this here. If I would have done, let's say for example Himanshu1, since Himanshu1 is not doing anything, we have not logged in with the Himanshu1 user, it's currently in the inactive state, which means it is not performing any live actions on this machine, that's why you are not seeing any of the things related to the Himanshu1 user. So that is how you can monitor for any user what are the input output operations are which are happening here. Yeah, and if you want to monitor the process, let's say I try this sleep. So the process sleep 1000 seconds in the background it's running. Okay, you can check the jobs. Now let's try to do this IO top -b -n and grab sleep. So you can monitor a process like this. So this will give you an idea about, okay, this user, star agile user with the process ID, is trying to do what. It's basically executed an operation called sleep. Similarly with PS AUX also you could see this, that star agile user with this process ID has executed this, right? So all right. So this is the command, another command to monitor the resources, monitor the input output, disk, how much it is actually happening, and then based on that, admin can take actions when and where required. So that is the usage of IO top. Then we'll be talking about some virtual memory stats. So there is a command called vmstat that also gives details, too much detail about your memory usage, and how much memory is being consumed and how much memory is being used. So let's talk about this. If you want to continuously monitor it for 2 seconds, so every 2 seconds it will update automatically, and then it will reflect the changes, whatever the changes you are seeing in your stats. So you can see here, currently earlier the R value was 2 and now it's 1 and then 0 and stuff. So this will keep on telling you the live updates of your memory stats, whatever the changes which are being happening on your memory because of some of the process and users and stuff, whatever they try to do. So let's say if I hope to see some changes when I perform some actions. Okay, so let's see this. See, again it has gone to 2, which means something is happening whenever any process gets kicked in, which means that the process is consuming some sort of a thing in terms of memory or you and CPUs and stuff. So that command can give you the idea about it. Okay, so after that, if you want to see this VM state for CPU, so it will tell you the CPU usage with option -s, that how much CPU usage. This is about the memory, the total swap memory is available, total cache memory is available, inactive and active memories and stuff, and how much CPU is in the idle state, and how much it is waiting for the queue, active queues, and how many pages are act. So if you remember the days when you were talking, you must have read in your universities where the paging is there, the memories are being stored. The RAM is nothing but like a pages where you keep on storing that information and data. So when you page in and page out, which means you are basically trying to consume it or releasing it. So that's how those stats you can also check in, swap in, swap out stuff. So those information you can also review with using this vmstat. It's a good utility. If you want to read more about vmstat, you can read it. It explains about how to use the virtual memory statistics, a memory which is virtually available, which means it's not a physical memory. It's a swap memory. Let's say, for example, we are trying to make memory from the physical disk to a RAM. We are trying to convert that. That's called a virtual memory, swap memory. That's how we are using. So those informations you can check how much active, inactive, and stats it is being used. So that is one thing. And if you want to display memory and swap uses, so you can execute vmstat -a, and it will tell you memory usage and swap usage separately. So in memory usage, it will tell you how much memory is swapped and how much is a free, inactive states. So all these stats. So let's talk about this procs. What it does is actually, so R stands for the number of processes waiting for runtime. So currently there are 2 processes which are waiting for runtime to execute. B is for the processes which are in uninterruptible sleep mode, means waiting for input output operations like disk reads and writes. So there is no such process which are currently running. Swap memory is the memory which we have discussed about. We are trying to basically mean the memory which is virtual memory. It's coming up in the KB as a format here, and to a disk you want to calculate how much is the swap memory there and how much is the free swap memory available, then how much memory is in the active state and inactive states. And then if we talk about swap in and swap out, which means that the memory which is swapped in from the disk to RAM, so this much KB of memory is swapped in from disk to RAM, and this much KB of memory is swapped out to from RAM to disk. So those stats you can check out here. After that, for input output operations, you can see this BI value explains the number of block reads from the disk per second. So and this numbers explains this much block per second you are writing into the disk. So you read in from the disk and you're writing it into the disk. So these are nothing but the blocks. Then in systems you see in is the number of interrupts per second, and if there are any signals which are there for interruptions, so you can see these are the signals there. Now these are the stats for the CPU ideal 96% of CPU which is in ideal state, and there are no waiting states and user states and system states. So those things explains that currently CPU is running at very idle condition. That means there are not much of a load on the CPU machine as well as on the memory side of the house. So this explains kind of a thing where admin can understand, okay, the load average also looks good that we have seen in htop. Okay, this is also fine. 1 minute load is nothing. If we let's talk about the CPU of 8 core machine, so if it is more 1 minute and 15 minute and 5 minutes, so based on that admin can take actions, and then furthermore they can check about the input output operations and memory that are being used. So those information, so these are the utilities, you can read more about them always, and it's good to have knowledge about reading things, and based on the usage only you get to know all these things, and then you can get a chance to apply those things, because see, all these options are on a daily basis. It's not needed or required. It depends on the use case. Whenever any user come across these use cases, then only they get a chance to explain. So if you don't have to remember the VM state command output, what field represents what. So when you do the manual, read the manual, it explains everything to you. What does R mean, what does B mean, and swap in, swap out, and system. So it explains everything, so you don't have to anytime remember those things. So yeah, so there are various of things that we have seen using VM stats. So if I recall this again, so VM stat is basically being used for the CPU and memory. IO stats, if you want to capture that. htop is more of like a process management tool which helps you to identify what processes are running at the active state, and then you can just kill those processes whenever required, or you can monitor the usage consumptions of those processes in terms of CPU and memory. And iotop is again for the disk and IO stats if you want to capture that, so you can use that depending. So in this session we talked about about the compression methodologies and backup methodologies, for example tar, gzip and rsync, to make sure you take a backup, you compress the backup, or you sync from the remote location to the local machines. And then after that, some of the monitoring stuff, for example, using monitoring the CPU and memory usage, and how do you deal with those. So these informations are very important for the admin to understand, but it's not always it's fine to not, if you don't remember the VM stats, let's say for example here what is this values and all, so you can always go to the manuals and you can refer those manuals values, and that can help you to identify for any commands. You can read the manual and read more about what are the options it does, and then on top of it complex operations you can perform. So that's how admin can perform. And there are some other commands as well, like free command is there, then sar command is there. So free -h also tells about the memory usage. So these are the things you can use based on the usage and can come across with the scenarios, and you can use it. So that's about this session here.
If you want to learn Linux and get certified from IBM, click on this link given below in the description. That's a wrap for this chapter. I'll meet you in the next episode of this Linux series.